Hi, welcome back to my orchid life. I appreciate you coming by for a visit. Today we are going to take this Hilo Firecracker, let's see if I have it right. Hilo Firecracker New Year out of the pot. Here we go. I got this from Nicole Deanna back in the end of June, and I just took it out of the pot she had it in and just stuck it in this pot and put moss around it. I haven't really looked into the roots or anything, but I don't think that our latest growth here, I think she's done. So I'm gonna go ahead and just see what's going on in there and see if there's any new root growth. She's kind of getting a little droopy, so I'm wondering if maybe there's a lot of root desiccation in there. Either way, I want to take it out and see what's going on. I'm going to put her, or try to put her in this 7.5 inch pot, but we will have to wait and see what we end up with. So take her out. And I did have rocks at the top just to keep the moisture in the pot more. Well, she does have. Let me get most of this moss off of here so we can see what we are dealing with here. Okay. From what I can tell, she's got quite a few roots. I just have to see what they look like as far as if they're decaying. And the moss is not dried out, it's damp, so that is good. These are the roots I'm looking at, guys, and most of them are pretty firm, so we'll be really careful not to disturb too many of them. May end up taking her and rinsing her under the sink, but I will need to get some of the older ones off. And I'm leaving this bulb on here, even though she has these two big juicy ones. I'm still going to leave that on there just for her reserves, because it is still providing nutrients and sustenance to her while she is developing this newer growth. And the new growth does have some roots coming off of it, so maybe she just took a break from growing that growth and is concentrating on roots now. And maybe I jumped the gun a little bit here. We're already in here. Let's go ahead and get her into the newer home. But the moss that's in here is not bad. Like I said, I just took her out of the pot that she came in and just basically stuck her into this other pot and put media around her. So there are a couple of dead roots here in the middle that we'll get rid of. All right, well, I will get her all cleaned up and then we will come back and see what the roots look like and see if she's gonna fit in the pot. Now that I'm looking at the roots, they're kind of longer than I expected. Be right back. Okay, so we're gonna let that sizzle for a second. Let me clean all this up and then we will get her potted into that pot that I just checked to make sure she was gonna fit. The issue I'm having is all of these roots are so entangled and wanting to go up. So I'm gonna have to really work when I put the media in to make sure that these go down into the pot, because these are some of the newer roots and they're starting to die off on the tips. So I need them to go into the pot. So that's gonna be a challenge to get that going. But most of the roots were as expected in the back of the plant where the older growth was. All right, well, we will be back here shortly. All right, so what we're going to pot her up in is the fluffy moss, my pretty moss. And I have fir bark chips, I have some charcoal and some perlite in this bowl. And I'm gonna kind of layer it, but not layer it. It's gonna be a majority moss, just because oncidiums do like to stay fairly moist. And in my environment, I have found that a mixture of moss and bark tend to work heavier on the moss than the bark. And like I said, this one right here is going to be the challenge. So let me just put some media at the bottom here, along with some bark chips. Get the smally pieces that were going to fall out. All right. So we are going to set her about here because there's not going to be any new growth coming from there, and I can get her pretty close up against the pot, and that will allow her plenty of space here to grow, as well as maybe get that down into the media. And if I need to stake her, I can use this bulb here because I can put a stake right there. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I will be right back because I need to go get some more bark chips and perlite mixture, because most of it I used on this side here because there's no roots right back in here, and this is where the older growth is with those bulbs. And I may have to put this bulb in a little bit, and I don't want moisture building up in here, so I want majority bark back here. I'll be right back and we will finish the repot. I went ahead and just finished the repot since I had to turn the camera off anyway, and you guys have seen repots before. It's not something new. So I went ahead and did that. And I thought I was going to have to stake her, but I think she's going to be okay in here. She's got enough roots, I think, that's going to support her because she's not real wobbly in there, and I'm not going to move her too much. Just to show you though, see there's a lot of moss in there, but there's a lot of bark as well, especially back here. This whole section back here is all bark, just because this is the older side of the plant and there are no roots back there, and I don't expect any new root growth from that, and I didn't want those bulbs to desiccate. But here is where that new growth is, and there's enough room that if it shoots on either side, there's enough room for at least a year's worth of growth in there. And I'm not going to water her right now because the moss is damp, but I do see an air pocket that I will need to take care of right now. So what I do is I just pop it out just a little bit, and I just take my skewer and I just move the media into that air pocket. And then that just kind of, because Oncidiums do not like a lot of air pockets, unlike our Phalaenopsis and Cattleyas. The smaller rooted orchids tend to prefer a little more compactness to their media. Not tight, but a little more compact. And there she is, and hopefully I did not set her back with this, and maybe now this new growth will continue and go ahead and produce her bulb, or at least shoot out a new spike. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've only had her since June. I don't really know the growth pattern of her, but if she's like most Oncidiums, in my environment anyway, once I give them a good repot and clean up, they tend to take off a little bit better. So we will have to wait and see what she decides she wants to do, whether she wants to finish this or she's going to shoot us out a new one. And I did manage to get all of those roots except for a couple kind of under the media. And with that, guys, I hope you have a great day. Go ahead and give the video a like and a subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.